Thank you for joining us on the Dollars and Sense Podcast. If you are listening to the Dollars and Sense Podcast for the first time, it's a show where we get people to discuss some of the most interesting finance topics. Today, we are at the FSM Invest Expo 2025. And while most of the focus today at the Invest Expo is on how we invest our money, only learning how to invest our money without learning how to safeguard it isn't enough. This is why our podcast topic for now is LPA and Will. What are they and why you should not overlook these vital financial planning tools? And when we think about financial planning, many Singaporeans tend to prioritize investments and savings, often overlooking the crucial aspect of estate planning and key components of it. This includes our LPA, lasting power of attorney, and a will. An LPA ensures that your interests are protected if you lose the mental capacity to make decisions, while a will ensures that your assets are distributed according to your wishes after your passing. Despite this importance, these tools are sometimes often neglected in Singapore's financial planning stage discussion, including many of us who are investors. And joining me today for the discussion is Tang Chet Hao, Director at iFAST Global Trust. Chet Hao, firstly, welcome to the show. Most people think about iFAST as FSM1, which is primarily known for offering a wide range of investment services, including funds and brokerage solutions. So can you share with us what iFAST Global Trust actually do?
So iFAST has come a long way from Fund Supermart all the way to, we have various business units, for example, your iFAST Global Markets, where we have advisors that come in and give advisory work. We also have our iFAST Global Bank, which also takes care of digital banking needs for our clients. Over the years, I think iFAST have grown with the customers and investors since day one. They have built a certain nest pot. So we do have questions from our clients where, I built a certain nest egg, but now, I'm quite old, or even I want to think of legacy planning. So I don't know who to look for. So we gave birth to my new business unit, iFAST Global Trust. We are the estate planning division of iFAST. We complement all the other platforms within iFAST. We're 100% owned by iFAST. And we will help our clients, be it they come from FSM1, be it they come from iFAST Global Markets, to put together legacy planning solutions together, and hopefully that will help them transfer their wealth correctly to their next generation.
So I know two of the products that iFAST Global Trust have is LPA and Will. Let's talk about LPA first, which stands for Lasting Power of Attorney. And I think I know a little bit about what an LPA does. It's one of those documents where if something happens to you, but you're still around, but you're no longer mentally or capable of making your own decision, that's where an LPA comes in. But maybe you can explain it better than me.
So wills and LPA, usually people talk about them together. It's because one takes care of things after you pass on, one takes care of things when you're still alive. So LPA, lasting power of attorney, is something that will take care of affairs when you're still alive, but you are mentally incapable of making decisions or process information. So the LPA, there are two kinds in Singapore. One is the generic LPA, where you give powers directly to a trusted individual. So this individual can take care of all your finances and personal welfare. So in case you're bedridden, you can't decide for yourself, this person will step in to help you manage your affairs. So LPA2 is a more customized one. For example, you have very specific wishes to be carried out. You can do up an LPA2, but that has to be drafted by a lawyer, which is a bit costly to implement. So generally in Singapore, I think a lot of people are happy with just the LPA one, which gives powers to a trusted individual. It's easy to implement. You can do it online. There is a need for somebody, for example, a doctor, a lawyer, or psychiatrist to certify, and then you lodge it with the government. So typically, this kind of service is mostly DIY. You can do it by yourself.
But you do need, like what you just mentioned, you do need a doctor to be able to, in a way, certify that the LPA is legal and that the law, I think it's the Ministry of Law or something will recognize it.
Okay, so the more important thing why a lawyer or doctor is involved is because they want to make sure that this person, when he's making this decision to pass over the power to somebody else, mentally capable of doing so. So that will take away a lot of argument in the future. For example, if somebody who hasn't done an LPA, you will actually take away the trouble of second guessing. Hey, you sure or not you can speak for him, man? So it takes away this kind of ambiguity. It's very factual. It's very sure. You have a third party who is independent and in a professional capacity to say that yes, this person has made the decision correctly while he's still mentally capable. And then after that, we lodge it with the government registry. LPA2 can be a bit more specific. You can nominate this person to specifically take care of your property.
Right.
You can nominate this second person to specifically take care of your investment account, for example.
Okay.
Because this person may be investment savvy. So you want to designate a certain person to have certain power to assess certain things. So that's very specific. And then of course, personal welfare, perhaps the spouse can be a very good caregiver but cannot make financial decisions.
Okay.
So that's why you're just giving the caregiving power to the wife instead of any powers to make financial decisions.
Right. And my theory is that Singapore has progressed very well economically over the last 30 to 40 years. And while the older people in the past may not have a lot of assets that they leave behind for, say, their children, today, if you look at the average 60, 70-year-old, they probably own at least a HDB flat.
Correct.
Some people own multiple property.
Yep.
You have your CPF savings.
Correct.
You probably also, at least the people who are here at the Invest Expo,
Yep.
have an investment portfolio. So are they not thinking about a will?
I think a will traditionally in Asia, first of all, is a taboo subject. I don't talk about death.
Yeah.
Let's think about it another day. I have to engage a lawyer. So there's a lot of things that make people find excuses to procrastinate. So what I like to tell my clients is the will is as important as your investment decisions that you make, right? So you continue to grow a nest egg, but please also be mindful of when you effect the transfer. Wealth transfer can happen in many ways. During your lifetime, you can give away
Yep.
your assets. You can have joint ownership where the survivor will inherit directly.
Okay.
So that's another way. And then there are, of course, other things that you cannot immediately give now because you don't want to. For example, you want to pass it on after you die.
Like your
right?
property, for example.
So what happens is we tell people, you do a will. At least for sure, it's going in your wishes that X amount will go to the first child, X amount will go to a second child. Where the government comes in, if let's say you don't have any of this in place, we still have the Succession Act.
Yep.
So Singapore,
there's a sequence to how
Correct.
the money
Yeah.
or your assets will be divided if you don't have a will.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we have that in place for people who didn't get to do their will in time. But of course, that will not fit all cases. For example, let's say for me, I have a wife and children, right? So if I pass on without a will, everything will go to the wife and my children. But I still have my parents who are still alive who may also need to be financially dependent on me. So in this case, they can only be hopeful that whoever inherited my assets will be able to take care of them financially. There's this unsure that you leave behind, whether the next person will take care of them or not. In such circumstances, we always tell people, just to be sure, spend a bit of money, write it down, legally documented.
One of the things you mentioned is that, maybe things like will and even LPA are not things that as maybe Asian society we want to talk about it so much because it's kind of like a taboo, not a very positive thing to be discussing. I mean, is there any other reasons you feel besides that why either LPA or wills are overlooked? Because I also feel it's a bit like insurance planning.
Yes.
We don't really want to talk so much about bad things
Correct.
potentially happening, but we still make the effort to at least discuss it and
Correct.
quite usually buy a product or two.
Yeah.
Yeah, but LP and will, I feel like it's just a lot less covered.
Correct. So I think that maybe we compare with insurance. So insurance is a product you can see immediately. Say you pay X amount of premiums, it's very clear. And then after that, you get an X amount of payout. So it's like...
But not all insurance.
Yeah.
Sometimes every year I pay my medical premium. I'm like, how come I keep spending money? But I'm glad I didn't have to claim it.
Yeah. So the thing is...
But LPA really, it feels like maybe it's too long from now.
Actually, not really. You know why? Because if you believe in insurance,
then you should believe
then
in
you should believe LPA
That's true.
and will, because you are actually doing something to prevent the unexpected. I think why people think they are not willing to look at it now, other than being a taboo, they may have the misconception that it's only for the wealthy. I don't have a lot to begin with. So I think when you really do your sums, considering your insurance proceeds, your CPF, your
HDB
property,
flats.
it might actually end up a lot.
That's true. I think a lot of us may have underestimated the amount of assets we already accumulated.
Correct.
Just because some of the things like maybe our CPF savings or properties, we don't really see it, as
Correct.
necessary a part of an asset,
Yeah.
but actually it is.
Correct. I think a lot of people like to look at the bank account and see, this is how much I have. But actually, if you add up everything else that you do not see the dollar sign immediately, ultimately when you pass on, you will add up because insurance directly, you will pay out X amount.
Actually, one thing that I actually really don't see people thinking about is what happens to their investments after they pass on.
Correct.
Right. So we know that you can inherit a HDB flat
Yeah.
or some CPF savings.
Correct.
But I seldom hear people talk about inheriting investments. What, from your experience, we have a lot of savvy investors,
Sure.
at iFAST and at DollarsAndSense, but what typically happens after they pass on?
What usually happens when, for example, take a bank account. What happens when somebody pass on, the bank account is frozen until you come out with a letter of probate, and then the bank will help you open up an estate account. So likewise for investment, it more or less follows the same process. The person pass on, account is frozen, and then after that, once a letter of probate is provided, we will transfer the assets over to the estate account. So that's one way. Of course, during a lifetime, we can also have a beneficiary account open up so that when the person passes on, the transfer is seamless. So in terms of investment, you can think of it like how we usually operate with a bank account. It's quite straightforward in iFAST.
Essentially, what's happening is that you need to have a will. It needs to be a recognized will, so you have to do it correctly.
Yep.
With, I think, witnesses that are not going to be beneficiaries of the wills.
That's right.
So you have to do it correctly, and once that is done, upon the person passing on, then the will then dictate what happens next. Is it very expensive, or it can be quite affordable?
So for us, we have a package solution for our customers who do not have, they have no idea how to start.
Okay.
Right. Typically, our solution will include a will that's drafted by a lawyer.
Okay.
We will also help the client get their LPA certified through this process.
Okay. Lawyer.
We will also provide consultation on all the other estate planning tools that people seldom talk about. For example, we talk about the ACP, Advanced Care Plan. It's something like a guidance. It's not a legally binding document, but it works hand in hand with the LPA. So, LPA gives you broad powers, but it doesn't tell you exactly how you want to be cared for when you're bedridden. So the ACP comes in, you will have your wishes stated. That say, for example, if I'm bedridden, I would like to have a massage every week.
Oh, you can do that.
You can actually specify your care plan.
Oh, right. Wow.
So your caregiver will at least know that, Appa wants to have a massage every weekend. He likes to listen to music every morning. He likes to listen to certain kind of music. So you can actually say all these things inside your advanced care plan.
Okay.
And your
But is that a preference or legally binding?
It's not, the advanced care plan is not a legally binding document. So it merely serves as a guidance for people who is taking care of you, especially the person who is your LPA donee, right? So this person has all the power, but he may not know how to use that power. So the ACP serves as a guidance to them. Your healthcare spokesperson will work together with the donee, the LPA donee, to work hand in hand to say, his plan is like that. Do we have the finances to do so? Is it wise to do so? Then if yes, then we work together and make that happen.
Okay, so you're just saying that iFAST Global Trust can help with the LPA.
Yeah.
You got lawyers who can help draft the will, depending on and in consultation with the clients, and then some of these additional advanced care.
The additional estate planning tools, like what I mentioned earlier, ACP, AMD, this has been done. Advanced Medical Directive. So the Advanced Medical Directive, it's a directive where somebody is terminally ill and there's no way of cure.
And they can't communicate also, right? Yeah.
Because you are not able to communicate certain wishes, and of course, when it's time to so-called pull the plug, this is something that given to, or rather the hospitals have a record of that, and you will actually go through a tribunal of 3 doctors before they actually execute an AMD. So what happens is all this work hand in hand, but of course this people hear fragments of it here and there. So I think it's important that while we are doing up the LPA and the wills for our clients, it's also important we talk about these things.
Yeah, I guess there's a lot of, it's not just about what you put in your LPA or your will, there's actually a lot of other decisions that you want to look at collectively. If you're talking about estate planning or what will happen when either you pass on or you are no longer able to make your own decision because of health. reasons. I just want to ask from your experience, are there any specific scenarios or real life examples where you have encountered where having an LPA or will really help make a significant difference for the families?
Yeah, so maybe I'll share two stories. One story is about a taxi driver that I know. We used to play soccer. He was much older than me.
Okay.
We used to play soccer. So he's the sole breadwinner. He has a few children. He has a wife. He has parents that depend on him for a living, right? Many years down the road, we caught up again and then we spoke about topics like this because all of us have grown older. He's well into his 60s. So I said, better get an LPA in place. I said, yeah. I think I should do that. After I shared some risks of not doing so. So then I never spoke to him for another couple of years. So through a friend, I heard that he got a stroke. So when he got a stroke, being the main sole breadwinner, his finances immediately in limbo because the wife has only X amount of money in the bank to pay for medical expenses. Now, of course, you have your insurance that will come in eventually, but sometimes you have to pay first, right? So what happens is that thankfully with the LPA in place, the wife immediately went to apply to certify that he's not mentally capable anymore, and she needs the legal power to go and move certain bank account money and also to take care of the investments as well. So from this, within 10 days, she's able to have quick access to funds. First of all, to pay for hospital bill, to arrange for certain modifications in the house, and then also to run the daily expenses of the household.
So basically, it's because the documents are in place, the
Yes.
speed of being able to access the
Correct.
assets
So
are
immediately,
faster.
I wouldn't say immediately, but after a few working days, they can access the account, operate it, and get liquidity, which is most important.
Do you have another story? You say you have
Oh,
two.
yeah.
Let's do the second one.
So the second story, I think, is about guardianship. So guardianship, a lot of people assume that surviving parents will assume guardianship, but what happens if there's only one parent left? So in this case of my friend, she's a widow. She has two children, young children, and she lives with her distant cousin because over the years when they're growing up, this distant cousin became very close to them, more close than her own siblings, right? So what happens is one day she passed on, but luckily she did a will. She also named the cousin as the guardian. So if there's no ambiguity, the guardian immediately steps over as the guardian for the children. So most importantly is, number one, it avoids any custody battle. So for example, the paternal side grandparents, I wouldn't say they're eyeing the grandchildren, but
They could have
made
an argument
they
that
could have made an argument that
they should be the guardian.
yeah,
right?
because of the same paternal lineage and all that. And then of course there are siblings. So the court usually when they look at it, okay, grandparents, surviving parents, uncle and auntie will assume, and the sibling will assume guardianship.
Responsibility, yeah.
So it's very easy if they can make that kind of case. But in this case, the children are actually very, very close to the auntie. They call her auntie because cousin. So, but the cousin is a bit more distant in terms of siblings. So, in this case, any sibling who can come forward and say, I want to take care of them. But then the children are very used to living with the auntie together in the same home. So, in short, for the family, it's painless in the sense that there's no change in the children's life. Of course, they're grieving the loss of the mother, but in terms of going to school, in terms of having to ask for pocket money, living in the same home, I think it's very important for children who are very unfortunate to be in this kind of circumstances.
Can I say that having a LPA and having a will is something that all of us working adults, even if we're not married,
Yep.
should we have it as soon as possible?
Over the years, when you first started your career, you think, hey, I have nothing much. Maybe I can just leave it to the government to help me distribute. I don't blame people for that kind of thought, right? After that, when you start to grow up, get married, have children, so a lot of things changes in life warrants a review, even you have or do not have an estate plan. Unfortunately, in a divorce, it doesn't revoke your previous nomination.
Okay, then I think that's something important that people should take note of.
There are small things like that that you should start asking now, so that you're not caught or your family will not be caught unprepared for that eventuality.
I guess just to sum it up, as soon as you're accumulating assets that are going to be worth something, could be your stocks, could be your investment portfolio, even collectible items.
Correct.
That's where the importance of having a will starts to take
Right.
effect, where you should have it. And then as your second point, as you go through different life stages, maybe when you are married, when you have kids, or even when someone passes on, or even in the event of a divorce, that's where you also want to review it to make sure that your will remains updated as per your stages in life and your intention. For those of you who are watching or listening to this, iFAST Global Trust does provide some of these services. So check it out if you guys are interested or you feel like this is a topic that you need to start thinking about. Cheng Hao, thank you so much for joining us for today's session and sharing with us your thoughts. For those of you who are listening or watching this, if you really like our content, please subscribe to us on YouTube or Spotify, wherever you're watching this. And if you have any thoughts or any feedback for this episode, leave us your thoughts in the comments for our discussion. Thank you so much.